They went. Okay, we're good. All right. Welcome once again. It's Wausau Waterworks Commission meeting, Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026. It's about 11:03 a.m. Wausau City Hall Council Chambers. Item 1 up for consideration is the minutes of February 3rd. It was a regular Wausau Waterworks Commission meeting. Would entertain a motion.
Move to approve the February 3rd, 2026 regular meeting minutes.
Motion from Griner to approve Feb 3rd meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Second.
Question? I have a
And
question,
question
Matt.
from Mr. Force.
Item 2D, we had talked about the slowness of the DNR to get to our Class A and B sludge certification. I wondered if any follow-up has taken place with that issue.
Yeah, Ben's in constant follow-up with them, contacting them about our contact with the DNR, and trying to, get us up as a priority. So, yeah.
I would hope we could continue to have reports on that. That's an important item. And I don't think we should accept the DNR's tardiness.
I would agree with that. Ben did put an update in here on an update, so, with our contact, so we'll do that every month until we get that classification, Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Force. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Up, item number 2 is our director's report. Got some information here on the lead and copper rule improvement compliance letter dated, I'll let
Yeah,
Eric
thanks,
take
Mayor.
that over.
This was brought last month too. I want to keep this sort of at the forefront as well, because this does impact our operations. Will increase our need for resources. It will increase operational costs for us moving forward as we begin testing again for lead in 2028. And it also puts mandates on us for a 10-year time frame for replacing and removing all of the lead within the city. It should be pointed out again that the ordinance, the mandatory replacement ordinance that the Wausau Waterworks Commission approved was not approved at the city council meeting. And so the city still does not have a way to mandate private lead service line replacements. And so that ordinance will have to come forward again. Likely it will come forward again this year because the mandates and the replacements do come into play starting in late 2027, as you'll see on the timeline that was put together and in the packet. So, and obviously along with that comes financial obligations, whether that's something that the city's going to take on or whether that's something that private homeowners are going to have to do. Because the EPA funding that we're using right now will dry up in the next year or two, and there won't be funding available. So
2026 on our lead service line replacement could be our last big year. Well, certainly will be our last big year. In following years, it could be 50-50 match. We're not sure yet, and it may be a smaller amount. So this may be our last big push, and then we'll have to be looking at spreading this out over 10 years, but we're going to have 10 years, so till 2037. So we have roughly 11 years from now to finish them. And where are we down to? Roughly 6,000.
yeah, we had still got 3,000 on our side about.
Yeah, 3,000, a little over 3,000 on our side, and then it's estimated on the private side, but I would say 6,000 to 7,000.
Yeah, that might be a little high, but we're including the unknowns on that too. We were able to get the DNR to fund some inventory research for us doing hydro excavations this year. So with the principal forgiveness, and so we will be doing that as well to help out with our inventory. And as you know, when we apply for funding every year, it's all based on our disadvantaged census tracts, right? In the census tracts and in how how much funding we get as far as principal forgiveness versus loan. So we're trying to maximize the principal forgiveness by leveraging those disadvantaged census tracts. But eventually, I think possibly after this year, the majority of those services will be replaced. And then we'll be down to basically a 50-50 rather than 100% principal forgiveness on the private side. So at some point, the homeowners or the city's going to have to start picking up the tab for the private side replacements that it's currently not having to do right now.
So, question, I guess I wasn't aware of this, that the city council had not approved that mandatory ordinance. That puts our funding, that basically cancels our funding.
It doesn't cancel our funding, although it doesn't help our scores. We would have gotten additional points on our scoring if we had that mandatory ordinance in place, yes.
Was the council fully aware of that?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
On the bright side, though, because it was 100%, we had about a 97 or 98% ROE hit rate. So we had about 98% of those who had them got them.
Correct, yeah. I mean, our right of entries and our participation in the program is over 98%. The other challenge that we're having with the DNR is that they're only funding a certain amount of the public outreach, which is absolutely critical for us to get into homes and to, get these right of entry agreements. And so what the DNR's decision has been made is that they are saying that we're only going to fund non-construction related activities up to a certain amount. And then, but for us to get the participation rate and to work with these homeowners in an adequate way, the city has actually had to take on some general obligation debt. And we'll be bringing that forward as well, the 25 general obligation debt that the DNR is not picking up with their subsidized loan. The project itself remains the same cost in whole, but the DNR is not providing the subsidized loan for a small portion of the project, so.
So originally, we had a 5-year plan,
Yeah,
and we had, I forget the exact number, but we had pretty much a maximum number of lead lines to replace. It sounds like we're only going to be able to complete 60% of that, 3 years.
yeah, in 3 years, I guess the decision will have to be made whether we're gonna, try to continue at this level, and then how is that additional
how are you gonna pay
50%?
for
Right, yep,
Disappointing.
yep.
I also have a question regarding that. So with the 2028 deadline upcoming, 2028 is the deadline for us to be able to get in and inspect the lead lines, or what is the fixed date for that?
For our inventory, we have to provide the inventory on an annual basis, which we have been doing, right? The 28 or the end of 27 is actually the deadline where the new lead and copper rule improvements actually become enforceable. And so, like the lead action limit gets dropped from 15 to 10, that, we have to do additional sampling starting in 2028. So in the past, we have done one round of sampling every year, and in 28 it goes to two. Yeah.
Also, Aaron, and with the inventory, any unknowns after that compliance date in November 27 are considered lead or galvanized that need replacement. So those services would have to be figured into your 10-year replacement plan.
And really the capacity of the city before we started up with this lead service line replacement, we were replacing maybe 80 a year on average, because we could probably do up to 100, 120 on our own with our street reconstruction projects and the resources that we have. But, when we start talking about doing 500 or 600 or even 1,000 a year, I mean, the city's resources, we just don't have the staff to inspect, oversee, public outreach, all of those things, that come along with this type of program. So depending on how many services we have left in the ground and how many unknowns is going to depend on what that 10% is each year that we have to replace.
But it sure makes it more manageable.
It helps.
But to me, as a citizen and as a member of this council, I'm very disappointed. I thought we had a really good model program going, one that was publicized as one of the best in the country. And now we're not going to be able to complete the plan that we embarked on. I find that disappointing.
I think that a lot of it, Jim, and I agree with you. I mean, the challenges that we've run into with the state administering these EPA funds has been very disappointing. And I think they've put up a lot of roadblocks for us doing this. And I believe that other communities are going to feel that as well, right? The participation in the program, and I think that other communities are struggling with how to step forward into this. And I feel like, with other projects, usually there's a pretty good consensus, right, on, whether it's from state, feds, and even local on moving forward with the project. This one, I feel like, hasn't been as much of a partnership, which has been very disappointing. So I agree with your frustration.
Anything else on the LCR?
I think I'd probably let Scott talk to this a little bit more. He's been pretty much administering this. The corrosion control treatment optimization that we were required to do since we changed our water source quality, that the EPA came down and is being administered through the DNR. It's been 5 or 6 years, Scott, since we
Yeah,
started
since
this.
21, we've been running this. So we just wanted to put an update in here. We are planning to be submitting our plan to DNR by the end of this month. So our recommendation will probably require an addition of an additional chemical. We're probably going to add polyphosphate, and it's looking at 1 milligram per liter. So there will be some equipment, some space in the plant that we'll have to find, but that is not fully determined yet. We're waiting for some results to come back from one of our lead samples that we had sent in again. We're still running our lead loops till the end of the month. We'll be meeting with DNR later this month before final plan submission, but I just wanted to keep you updated.
I have a question regarding that. So you answered a couple of my questions that I had just in that, but do we know, do we have a rough idea of what kind of infrastructure we would have to add in order to, they're essentially regulating the pH in this is what we're doing, right? To control the solubility of lead and copper. Do we have a rough idea of the kind of equipment that we would have to need to be able to do this and a general idea of cost?
I don't want to step ahead of it, but I'm guessing it would be pump skid, day tank, full load take. So depending on what we're looking at, 1 milligram per liter, it's probably going to be either a tote-sized or a little bit larger tank than that. Then we would have to have a day tank, a dual pump skid system. I'm guessing probably in the range of $50,000 or so.
You said 15 or 50?
55
50.
would
Okay.
be my guess, but I don't want to.
Until we know the final.
Until we know the
yeah.
final,
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
And that's assuming that we have room or we can find room in one of our chemical rooms already, because we'll need spill containment and some kind of neutralization piping and a way to get rid of the waste if we do have a leak.
Okay. Yeah, that was also one of my questions too, if we would have the space in the facility for it or not. So, okay. Thank you.
Anything else on corrosion control optimization? All right. Next item is the water rate increase history, and that was something that Mr. Force asked to see. There's a spreadsheet in the packet, or a chart Scott can speak to if you have any questions on that.
I have a question in regards to that. So looking through the spreadsheet, historically looking at the things from 1987 up through, I'd say 2006, 2010, we have things like plant renovation, plant addition, siding, things like that, paint for the water towers, things like that. Are we still paying off any debts, any costs associated with our old facility that we're not using anymore? Or these rates increases been absorbed to cover our current operating costs and that as well?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, like, when you look at the plant additions that were done in 99 and 2001, I don't know what the borrowing was for those at that time. And I don't know what those costs are, so I couldn't answer that question if we still have that debt. I do know when I started in 2015, we were going to the state revolving loan fund for our typical capital projects, replacing water, sewer lines, things like that with our street projects. And I do still believe that we have a couple of those loans that we're paying on. And those would have been from 16, 17, 18. I think they were 10-year borrows, on those. Yeah, but I can talk to Mary Ann on that too when we plan on bringing information back to identify what, our borrowing is and the details from where.
Yeah, because I was just looking at the data, and then for our billing rate for 1987 and today's dollars with inflation would be $90.62 per unit, which means we're essentially paying another $70 on top of that in our current rates, which does include inflation, material costs, things like that, along with paying off the new
must have been
facilities.
listening.
So, oh, there she is.
Let's grow.
Yeah, so the revenue bonds that are outstanding today are just from 2017 and 2019. So anything that was related to plant improvements prior to that would have been already retired. So this, and really, the borrowing there was, I think, mainly for big main projects, things like that. And 2017s will be paid off, in the near future, so.
Thank you.
I had a question.
Mr. Force.
So we were doing 3% annual increases, SRCs there for a while. We haven't done that for a while. Just because I don't have the numbers in front of me, what would a 3% increase mean in terms of additional revenue today? About?
300,000. Well, is that right? $12 million budget. I'd be winging it.
300,000? You're guessing 300,000?
I really, I think it would be hard. I think it would be hard. I'd almost have to ask Ellers how they break that out, right? Like if we went in for 3%, I don't know if that's 3% on the fixed cost and then 3% on the rate. I don't know how they.
I'm just saying on rates, what additional revenue would you receive from what you're now receiving in terms of rates if you went to a 3% increase?
I don't know that it's a straight, like.
If your rate revenue is $1 million, 3% of that is X, and so that's just what I was curious about.
That's right. There are some fixed costs in there. The meter charges that wouldn't be, or fixed charges wouldn't get that same. But it wouldn't be $1 million, I can tell you that much.
No, I'm just throwing that out there as purely hypothetical.
Further discussion on rate increase history. And the old water plant, by the way, will be torn down this year, so I hope we don't know anything on it.
No, we don't, yeah.
Headwork screening project, Ben isn't here today, but I believe those are, you have something to add to that, Eric, coming along nicely?
I don't. There is an update on the Class A biosolids that Ben gave, and so as far as the response from Angela with the DNR, who we've been working with on that, but we'll keep you posted on a monthly basis till we get that letter.
Did we reach out to a different person besides Fred? How did we get some sort of response to this, since we've been waiting and waiting and waiting for?
Yeah, Angela works with us on our WPDES, our discharge permit. And so through that process, we've been able to make a few contacts with the DNR to try to get pressure from top down on Fred to
Good.
get us moved up. Yeah,
Okay, just curious. Thanks.
yeah.
All right, item 3, discussion and possible action on approving amendment number 2 to the contract with Clark Dietz for the Cherry Street and Crocker Street lift stations.
Yeah, so this amendment is coming before it's really for the Cherry Street lift station, the additional time requirements that Clark Dietz is putting into that project due to contractor delays. We do have liquidated damages in the contract for integrity grading and excavating, which we will be looking at, and also talking with IGE, the contractor, about covering the majority, if not all, of these costs as well. But because IGE does not have a contract with Clark Dietz, these are keeping Clark Dietz on site and the project moving without delays. We will need approval of this to continue, and ideally, we would just negotiate with IGE to cover these costs, but if they're not acceptable to that, then we would work with legal and probably just pursue liquidated damages and hold that from any retainage that we have, which we have plenty of retainage on the project, so.
Did we select IGE as the contractor, or did Clark Dietz do that?
Oh, we did.
We did? Okay. So if so Clark Dietz was the contractor for services, engineering services. Were they overseeing Clark or IGE
Yeah,
during the installation of this? How did the pump scenario happen? Because if it was spec to a certain, I'm guessing CFM or a certain size for the pump,
Yep.
and Clark Dietz spec that, do we know how it happened that IGE chose to use a different pump instead of what was spec'd for the project?
Yeah, I don't know specifically, but obviously they thought the pump wasn't equal, and so they submitted their bid with the other pump, and they didn't submit that anything to us prior to the bid.
And did we miss that, or did Clark Dietz miss that?
Nobody missed it. We didn't know about it till after the bid. I mean, this is the challenge with low bid, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we get bids in from qualified contractors, then we have to go with low bid, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this came about during the submittal process, that Clark Dietz actually flagged this when it came in when they were reviewing submittals.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Clark picked it up. I
Yes.
got you. Okay.
Yeah.
I assume the pumps they submitted that were unacceptable were cheaper?
I would guess that. That's probably why they went with them. And then we also had the pump manufacturers writing us letters saying that, they were going to sue us and everything else, but, so.
Had we already ordered these pumps?
Yeah, they're already installed. Yeah.
Well, I mean, had we already?
No, not the
wrong
inadequate ones.
Okay.
The proper ones were.
And they're
Okay.
working properly?
Yes. Yeah. So through the submittal process, we denied those pumps that they submitted initially. And the pumps that met spec were eventually approved, so they went to a different
What
supplier.
brand did we,
Flight,
Flight?
yes.
Good,
Yep.
good brand.
Yep.
And do we know if, I mean, since we are seeking compensation from IGE over this error, do we know if we're, I wouldn't say guaranteed, but how much of the $25,000 that we would be paying Clark Dietz would we be on the hook for if they did not, I mean, apart from litigation.
Yeah, it's really hard to say. I'd say worst case scenario, we'd be on the hook for half of it, but, you know, I'm pretty confident we're gonna get a lot more than that, you know, just through liquidated damages, if that's the direction that we go, or have to go, yeah. So when we do go down like the path of liquid, which we've done with other contractors on our projects, just to kind of, how we handle that is we identify the number of days that the work was extended. We identify if there's weather days, if there's other days that, and we also take into account were they actually working, were they just off on other jobs and not paying attention, and we end up coming with a number of days, and I think it's $1,000 a day up to substantial completion and $500 a day after substantial. So, and we make that calculation, justify that calculation, and then bring that forward to the contractor and have those discussions so they're aware of what's happening before we bring it forward.
Do you have a rough idea currently of how many days? I mean, it said it's, several months it's been delayed, but
Yeah,
of those several months,
we're talking 2-3 months longer, so, yeah.
so at 2 or 3 months at $1,000 a day or $500 a day, that's should be well over the 25,000.
It is.
It is,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Hopefully pumps are easier to get than microchips today. All right, so that's listed as discussion and possible action.
That's
So I
correct, yeah.
entertain a motion to approve that amendment for my signature. Motion from Gelhar. Second from Greiner. Any further discussion? All right, those in favor of approving Amendment 2 to the contract with Clark Dietz for Cherry Street Crocker Lift Station signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
I'll bring an update back with that final decision, so.
All right, up next under 3 is 3B, approving the sole source purchase of a backhoe for the water department. And that's in the packet. Scott, if you want to
Sure, I can
update us
set
on
this
that
up.
one.
Staff tried out the 3 backhoes, actually the 2 backhoes. The John Deere, we couldn't get a chance to try that one out. They didn't have a machine available. But what staff liked was the CAT backhoe, which happened to be right in the middle of the pricing. We kind of reviewed what we had. We do have a hydro hammer that we put on this piece of equipment for breaking through blacktop asphalt, frost just for main breaks in the winter. That hammer has some weight to it. The CAT actually carried that weight better than the case machine, so it was going to be safer with the weight hanging off the back of it on a heavier machine. The CAT weighs about 4,000 pounds more. So staff chose the CAT, they liked it better. We do have equipment, our current machine is a CAT, so we can transfer that over, so we wouldn't have to buy new brackets, new hose connections, new fittings, and et cetera. So it seemed economical and better for our staff to go with not the lowest quote, but the second highest quote.
Scott, do you know what the price of purchasing an adapter plate and retrofitting the other couplings would be?
Just for the hammer itself, it's going to be about $5,000. The front end with the forks and stuff that we have for the machine that would fit it would be probably another $5,000 easily. I don't know that exact number.
Okay, but those estimates would indicate to me that if we purchased the Miller Bradford, we'd end up spending another 10 grand, which equals what the Caterpillar
Correct.
unit is being bid at. Okay.
Further questions on the backhoe?
I move we authorize, are you ready for a motion on this, Matt?
Yes.
I move we authorize the purchase of the Fabric Caterpillar 42007XC backhoe loader at $149,014.
A motion from Force for the Caterpillar,
I'll second that.
second from Gelhar. further questions on that? Directions? All right, seeing none. Those in favor of approving the purchase of a backhoe for the water department, the CAT 42007XE, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. The next meeting is Wednesday, April 8th. So that's one day later than normal because of the elections on Tuesday, the 7th. So Wednesday, April 8th, 11 o'clock, right here. Would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Greiner,
Second.
Gelhar. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
See you later.
Nope, sorry.